again, and welcome back to another episode of Sherry's Metaphysical Corner. I'm Sherry. These segments are designed to help keep you educated and informed with our work and upcoming programs with the metaphysical work. This segment is about the energy service I used for many years. It's similar to Reiki, and it's called the Melchizedek Method. I may bounce around a little bit as we move through this and explain certain things, but the main topic of this evening's segment is about this powerful energy that uses sacred geometry. And hopefully, you were able to catch some of the recent segments that we showed live, with live demonstrations of other work we offered. And if you didn't, I'll recap briefly. But you can catch these on behavioralcommunitytv.org or my own website, energyworkstudio.com. So briefly, in the past, we've offered live crystal ball gatherings at the studio, biofield tuning fork demonstrations. We had an astrologer on the show that showed us the value in all the planets, how they affect us and not just the moon, which I myself found very fascinating. So we also had a psychic call-in night, which proved to be very interesting. And we will probably do this again in the near future. In our most recent and latest episode, this was on my own personal experiences in growing into this work, how I got started, and what led me into this chapter of my own life. So I thought it would be appropriate to talk a little about the Melchizedek Metatronic method of energy work that I've been offering since 2012 and haven't really talked about it much. I've mentioned in past segments that I started working in the holistic field in '95, but got seriously involved by 1998. And as a young girl, was always very curious about paranormal occurrences, healers, psychics, sci-fi movies. And when I say sci-fi movies, I mean if they weren't horror flicks or gruesome movies, murder flicks. That was just never really my thing. Many of my earliest inklings were drawn to the healing arts by way of magical books, movies, and as I mentioned, when I initially became interested in these things, they didn't have World Wide Web. My early youth was simply to bear witness and observe things and be outside in nature as much as possible. And I loved being outside. In the beginnings, I would observe lights flashing on and off around me from time to time for no apparent reason. Knocks on a door only to find no one there. Or a name of an image or an image of a person that would just drop into my mind. And then shortly thereafter, this person would just show up or contact me. In one of my more recent years, I've now started witnessing orbs. They show up everywhere, like after meditating, or around my kitty, in my driveway at the end of the day, in my house at the conclusion of a crystal bowl gathering, even around some of my family members. So I think you get the idea. It's the newest thing that has shown up in my world. And while I'm talking about orbs, if you go to my Facebook page, the background image is a picture of my living room full of orbs. And it actually looks like it's snowing in my house. So you might want to take a look at that. So these and more are just some things I believe were introductions to opening the subconscious mind and preparation work for this work into the metaphysics and the paranormal. So, let's begin with the Melchizedek work now. And I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. It's a bit more involved than the Reiki energy. And if you're not aware, Reiki energy is a frequency flow of infinite knowledge that one can tap into that surrounds the planet. And as one of my favorite authors referred to this field as the ring of knowledge, the author William E. Gray, in the book, Know Your Magnetic Field. So Reiki was brought into being in the early 1900s by a Japanese monk, Sensei Mikao Yasui from Japan. And sensei simply means teacher. This flow of energy or universal divine knowledge was like a doorway to the fourth dimension vibration of understanding, and the flow of energy the practitioner could tap into with the laying of hands. So with Reiki, the energy comes through chakra centers in each palm. So along with the 7 chakras that go up and down the front and back of your spine, you also have chakra centers in your palms, and that's where the Reiki work comes through, is through the palms. And on our last segment, I talked quite a bit about the Reiki energy frequency and its inception. The Melchizedek energy is similar, but one's tapping into the 5th dimension vibration of understanding. And again, universal divine knowledge. So it's a ring of information that surrounds this planet that we actually tap into. This method of energy uses a whole new formula for clearing and balancing. This work is very old and was taught to Jesus by his teacher, Melchizedek, when he was offering his healings to the masses. So this method of energy balancing is much older than Reiki and uses a different formula for clearing and balancing than Reiki does. We're using sacred geometries. So the Melchizedek method is much more than a light body activation, healing, and rejuvenation technique. It's a whole new formula for body health, harmony, and spiritual ascension. The techniques in this method are unique and unlike any other. This method uses a particular sequence called KL formula. And what that simply means is Cadman light formula. Cadman actually is another name for the light body. This works with 4 elements. So I'm going to give you a little bit more information as we get going with this now. And the 4 elements are earth, fire, water, and air. It also works with the 4 light body groups. The lower 8 bodies of the earth, which are your chakra base, the cosmic 8 bodies of fire, the divine 8 bodies of water, and the God-illuminated 8 bodies of air. The Cadman light body field is made up of 33 layers, believe it or not, having color and vibration attached to it. So there's where this already starts to get a little bit different. So whichever sequence is needed by the person or group healing that I do monthly, this comes through to help the body repair, removes old paradigms, balances and heals itself on a much deeper level. And those that have trouble pronouncing this name, and it is a little bit difficult, I'll give it to you phonetically. So think of it this way. Follow this. Mel, like Mel Gibson, keys, like your car keys, a deck, like a deck of cards. So it's Mel, keys, a deck. Easy peasy. So this field of energy around us is the Cadman light body or hologram. And I think many of you have heard me mention this before. We all have 2 bodies, your physical body and your etheric. This field of energy made up of 33 layers having color and vibration attached to it. So as we continue, each group is represented by color and vibration frequencies and is organized or held by a particular angel or light being. Chakra energy centers run up and down the front and back of your spine. They are cylindrical, cone-shaped, and are like an open vortex of spinning energy. And we have some images here that we can show you about the chakra centers. So this particular chakra centers are the chi flowing through the body. In these images, you'll see the flow of chi through the field, what the chakra center look like with color resonance, and a side profile showing their cone shape, and they are cone shape in these centers that bring the chi or life force energy through the body. So the front centers are known as the giving centers, sending energy out. The back centers, and we do have it coming right through the person directly out in front of us. So as we receive through the backs of these chakras, that's where we receive energy for the individual. So that's where the balance comes in, and the giving and the receiving. And we do need to maintain balance in these centers. So more often than not, we find the back chakra centers with service-oriented people like nurses, energy practitioners, and caregivers have the messiest, or they're just simply blocked. So these individuals are not receiving as much energy flow to themselves as they're giving out to others, and can become burnt out. This easily taxes out the adrenal glands, ending up being adrenal fatigue. So to be clear, our energy patterning is cumulative in these layers and can be from past lives as well as present day. These are old paradigms stuck in one's field that needs to be released. The back energy coming through these centers is called, and this is a little tricky, the Sri Yantra spherical flow. Try to say that 3 times fast. And at this point, I'd like to let the viewing audience know this work was not learned in short order by any means. This is a very deep process. It takes time to learn it and integrate it into the system for understanding. So this is progressive. So let's continue. In this work, we use sacred geometry using a Merkaba and also an Omkaba. So I'm going to emphasize the first 3 prefixes, the first 2 prefixes rather. So it's Omkaba and the flower of life holograms. So we see here, we have some more images that I'm going to show you. The flower of life, what it looks like, Metatron's cube. And I'm sure you've heard me or others talking about this. It's coming out more and more. The flower of life. It's a beautiful Merkaba, and the Metatron's cube. You hear that more often than not now. And as we move along in this work, we upgrade in vibration, and the direction and the flow of energy changes. The Merkaba we bring in and around us flows in a left direction. The Omkaba flows in a right direction. We also work with the pineal gland in this method. And we'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. But it's the only gland in the body that's not connected to the nervous system and responds only to frequency signal. So it's kind of ironic that I'm involved in this particular healing modality, sound balancing instruments. They do complement each other. So it's been kind of fun. And this particular modality wasn't something I went looking for. It literally found me. So let me explain that a little bit. Many years ago, not being involved in this work yet, or knowing anything like this even existed, I had an odd circumstance take place. One night while I was offering a crystal bowl meditation gathering, a light being came through to speak with me saying, "I am Melchizedek. I would like to work with you." Right there, not really knowing what to do at that moment, I did what any frightened human being would do. I ignored the voice. A few minutes went by, and another voice came through saying, "I'm Metatron. I would like to work with you." Now at this point, I am a little spooked. I have to admit. And again, not really knowing what to make of these voices and had no idea who they were, again, I ignored the voice. Now, I've been hearing voices since I was a child from the angelic realm, but I'd never heard these particular names come through before. So this was a whole new ballgame for me. So finally, a third voice came through stating, I am that I am, Jesus. I am here to work with you, as are they. Now that name I knew, so I wasn't freaked out anymore. So after that event, I asked some of the colleagues that were with me that night, that were participating in this, do you know these names? One in particular was a little taken back and asked, these are, oh no, she didn't really actually ask, she just made an announcement. These are archangels and ascended masters. Why are you asking that? So I tried to maintain a little composure, and I simply stated, well, I don't know these names, and they were coming through to speak with me during the bowl gathering. And I left it at that. So what I'm trying to show you here is we all have a calling of something. The metaphysical work is still very new to many, but it's like anything else. If you have an aptitude or a calling for something, it will eventually show up. Let's continue. In this work, we also work with the pineal gland, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll give you a little more information about that. It's a very small shaped, almost a pine cone type of shape to it. It's very, very tiny, and it's directly in the center of the brain, right in the middle of the brain. And as one awakens and opens to the spiritual awareness in their lives, the pineal gland actually begins to turn upward. So the pineal gland in the brain is in this position. And as you start to move along in life, it actually moves in this position. And that's where the abilities become more open and fully open. So the Eye of Horus, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the Eye of Horus, it's an Egyptian term. And it symbolizes the pineal gland. And it actually looks like an eye. There are Egyptian and Palladian ties to this. So when the pineal gland is calcified by using fluoride and chlorine and much more, we are unable to readily connect to the divine universal source. And we have an image of the Eye of Horus. It's beautiful. And in this Eye of Horus, looks like an eye, is the pineal gland. And it's very tiny. It's very, very tiny. This is your doorway to the higher realms. And actually looks like an eye, like I mentioned. And it's surrounded by the pineal gland. And an FYI moment, we are all meant to have these abilities and much more, but have been suppressed for many thousands of years and are just now coming around the karmic track to this awareness. And what I mean by abilities is this. There are several layers or levels of the clairs, and we call them the clairs in this field, or the intuitive work. So let me explain, and I'll give you some examples here. Clairvoyance is clear seeing. Clairsentient is clear feeling. Clairaudient is clear hearing. Claircognizance is clear knowing. Clairalliance is clear smelling. Clairgustance is clear tasting. And the word clair is the prefix for the French word meaning clear. And like anything else in life, there are some good and some not so good. So for myself, I am clairaudient and claircognizant, and have been able to hear the angelic realm since I was very young. And just to reassure you, these are for real. If you're going through an awakening, good for you, jump in. Don't be afraid of it. It simply means your vibration can now handle it and are remembering how to use these original gifts. So as we start to bring this segment to a close, the Melchizedek energy work is a multi-dimensional healing process. Again, similar to Reiki, but with no touch, and taps into the higher realm frequencies with a different formula for healing. So this work is done with pillars of light from the angelic realm and higher, bringing in color, vibration through. And this is key. So try to remember this. They actually lower their own vibration to embrace us wherever we are on our own personal journey to health. So let me give you an example of that. And you may be like myself, many of you are visual. I'm very visual. And this is what I use as an example for many people. Think of it as a hummingbird. When you're watching a hummingbird, their wings are going so fast they almost disappear. So look at my hand. As I start to move my hand, you can see my hand clearly. But as I start to move my hand more and more, faster and faster, my hand actually almost disappears. You can see a shadow. And if I could go faster, I would like to, but if I could go faster, my hand would actually disappear. That is exactly what the angelic realm or the light beings are at. Their vibration is so much faster than ours that they don't need physical form anymore, and they're always around us. So that's the difference between them and us. We are very dense beings. We're heavier. We have a mass. They don't need it anymore. They've conquered many things. So this cumulative healing works with the individual to transform life from the inside out. This healing work uses sacred geometries, going deeper into the human body, clears the subconscious mind that creates lack, fear, and discomfort, dissolving these patterns at exactly the pace one can comfortably handle. And our last image, this is the pyramid cube of the angels with Archangel Metatron at the top. He is in charge over all the angelic beings and light beings. So take a look at that image, and that is who I am actually working with. And that was who came through, and it was a little bit frightening when he first came through and told me his name. So this is a very powerful healing modality. So that's the main thing that I want to really emphasize with you. But I didn't want to overload you with too much heavy information. So we'll talk more on this subject again in future segments. And if you have any questions, certainly you can contact me at energy4522@gmail.com. Now, as we start to close today's segment, for now, follow your intuition. That's your compass. Slowly integrate clean food into your diet with organic as much as possible. Meditation, very important, really important, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. And I tell everybody that I come in contact with, meditation is so helpful. Even if you take a break in the restroom during the day and go sit and just be quiet and be still. And there are many forms of vibration work that can really help. Another one is Qigong, crystal bowls, Tai Chi, tuning forks, Reiki, Melchizedek, acupuncture, acupressure, chiropractic care, massage, yoga, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea. The list can go on and on and on. What I tell everybody that I meet, seek it out. If one doesn't work, keep searching. There's a resonance that fits your vibration. So that's the whole point of having all of this available to us now. These all help. The intuition will never speak loud, so pay attention to the slight stirrings within. Work to be as still as possible when you can, either in meditation or just breath work. even a 10-minute meditation, like I said, or a 10-minute timeout for yourself. Just be still and practice slow breathing while listening to soft meditative music. It goes a long way. And while you're still, ask a question of your higher self. You'll receive a sign. The angelic realm uses all means of communication on this plane to get our attention. And they'll answer a question if we send it out. They'll use the newspaper advertisement, an overheard conversation, a bulletin, a message on a license plate, an inspirational message on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a passage in a book, a magazine article, and there's still more. The list is endless. What they will use to get our attention to help move us forward. Well, I guess it's that time. So thanks for stopping in. I hope you found today's segment informative and educational. Go to my website for more information about these works and educational videos at energyworkstudio.com. Wishing you great things on your journey. All right, so as we close this segment, stay tuned, stay connected, journey with light and sound.